Good day, grade 12 Yums. This is Miss Mayani. Love and share Christ. Are you ready to learn something new today? If yes, sit properly and listen attentively. Let's begin. For today's lesson, we will be talking about the figures of speech. Figures of speech are literary devices that achieve a special effect by using words in distinctive ways. They provoke a thought process and bring depth to the language. There are hundreds of figures of speech, but here we will focus on just the 25 most commonly used figures of speech in creative writing. To be able to use figures of speech effectively is an art, which can be mastered over time. The more you read, the more you will be able to understand them. By going through the examples in this chapter, you too can master the art of using them appropriately. Figures of speech may be dichotomized into two categories. The first are devices used to create sound or melody. The second are devices that are used to evoke imagination and emotions. Under the first category are the following figures of speech. Alliteration. This refers to the repetition of an initial consonant sound. Example: don't delay dawn's disarming display. Dusk demands daylight. In this example, the initial consonant sound d is continuously repeated. Next, assonance. This refers to the identity or similarity in sound between internal vowels in neighboring words. Example: it beats as it sweeps, as it cleans. Next, consonance. Like alliteration, this is a repetition of consonant sound but in the final position. Example: once you go black, you can never go back. And of course, we also have onomatopoeia. This is the use of words that imitate the sounds associated with the objects they refer to. Example: the clock's tick-tocks remind the old man of his impending death. Other figures of speech repeat not sounds but whole words or phrases in a passage or verse like the following. Anaphora. Same word or phrase is repeated at the beginning of successive clauses or verses. Example: I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to live. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to succeed. I'm not afraid to fall in love. I'm not afraid to be alone. I'm just afraid I might have to stop talking about myself for 5 minutes. See, in this example, we continuously repeated the words, I'm not afraid. Epiphora. What is repeated is a word or phrase at the end of succession of clauses or verses. In anaphora, it is repeated at the beginning, while epiphora, it is at the end of each clauses or verses. Example: Phi, phi, thou shapes thy shape, thy love, thy wheat. Which should bedeck thy shape, thy love, thy wheat. So in this example, we repeated thy love, thy wheat for the second time. Next, we have anadiplosis. This is different in that the last word of a verse or sentence is repeated at the beginning of the next one. Example: fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Moreover, there are figures of speech that evoke imagination and emotions. They are as follow. Simile. This is a stated comparison, usually using like or as between two fundamentally dissimilar things that have certain qualities in common. Example: on the ring, Muhammad Ali floated like a butterfly, but he stung like a bee. We also have metaphor. This is an implied comparison between two unlike things that actually have something in common. Example: my heart is a lonely hunter that hunts on a lonely hill. Next, personification. This is a figure of speech in which an inanimate object or abstraction is endowed with human qualities or abilities. Example: the picture in that magazine screamed for attention. Next, hyperbole. This is an extravagant statement or the use of exaggerated terms for the purpose of emphasis or heightened effect. Example: I'm so busy trying to accomplish 10 million things at once. Next, understatement. This figure of speech deliberately makes a situation seem less important or serious than it is. Example: it's nothing, it's just a scratch, where in fact, you are referring to a dent in a car. We also have metonymy. This is a figure of speech in which one word or phrase is substituted for another word with which it is closely associated with one another. Example: Hollywood is undeterred by the mass actions against stereotyping organized by the minorities. In this example, Hollywood is being referred as a movie industry. Synecdoche. This is a figure of speech in which a part is used to represent the whole or the whole for a part. Example: rationalizing guilt is a common trait of white-collar criminals. Next, euphemism. This refers to the substitution of an inoffensive term for one considered offensively explicit. Example: most of the informal settlers have been relocated outside Metro Manila. Instead of saying squatters, we use the word informal settlers. Rhetorical question. This refers to a question that needs no answer. Its purpose is to impress the listener or reader to an intended message. Example: marriage is a wonderful institution, but who would want to live in an institution? We also have climax. This is a figure of speech in which a series of phrases or sentences is arranged in ascending order of rhetorical forcefulness. Example: let a man acknowledge his obligations to himself, his family, his country, and his God. If you have climax, we also have anticlimax. This is the opposite of climax. Example: he has seen the ravages of war, he has known natural catastrophes, he has been to single bars. See, the emotions and intensity of each word decreases. Unlike in climax, it eventually increases. We also have oxymoron. This figure of speech uses incongruous or contradictory terms, usually side by side with each other. Example: she cannot be trusted. She is a real phony friend. The two contradicting words are real and phony. Next, we have parallelism. This refers to repeated syntactical similarities introduced for rhetorical effect. Example: when you are right, you cannot be too radical. When you are wrong, you cannot be too conservative. Also, we have our favorite, sarcasm. This makes use of words that mean the opposite of what speaker or writer wants to say, especially in order to insult someone or to show irritation or to be funny. Example: nice perfume. Must you marinate in it? We also have irony. This refers to a statement or situation that is contradicted by the appearance or presentation of the idea. Example, who would expect that Bill Gates would win a computer in his company's raffle draw? Next, we have paradox. This refers to a statement that appears to contradict itself. Example, I must be cruel to be kind. We also have apostrophe. This figure of speech addresses an inanimate object, an abstraction, or an absent person. Example, moon, river, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. And lastly, we have prosopopoeia. An imaginary character or an absent person is represented as speaking. Example, from the mouth of the Most High I came forth, and mist-like covered the earth. In this example, we hypothetically believe that wisdom is the one speaking or saying this line. That's all for today. I hope you learned something new. Keep up the good work. Thank you for listening. This is Miss Miami. Love and share Christ. Goodbye.